Hi, so what we're going to talk about now is epithelial tissue. There's four different types of tissues, and there's epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous, and we're going to talk about epithelial today. Epithelial tissue in general covers all body tissues, lines body cavities, and lines hollow organs. So like your urinary bladder, the inside of that would be epithelial tissue. Your salivary glands, your blood vessels, your alveoli, which are your air sacs in your lungs, things like that. Any type of protection, absorption, filtration, and secretion are the four jobs of epithelial tissue. So any of the shuns, so make a poem, memorize it. All right, so here's the main characteristics of epithelial tissue. They form together to form continuous sheets. So like see how those are Legos. See them? Continuous, there's no gaps there. Or like this. They form continuous sheets. They always have one free surface. So if this is the bottom, this would be the basement membrane. Get it? The basement, that's underneath everything. So everything builds up from there. So the basement membrane would be this, and then the epithelial tissue would be on top of that. Underneath the basement membrane would be the connective tissue. So this one, basement membrane, epithelial tissue, and up here would be like where your urine is in your urinary bladder, or your saliva is in your salivary glands. And then down here is the connective tissue. There's no blood supply, so it relies on diffusion. Do you remember what diffusion is? That's the movement from high concentration to low concentration. So like quick review, diffusion, if you're baking a cake and you're upstairs and your cake's on the main floor and you're upstairs in your bedroom, you're like, what's that smell? And then you come downstairs, it smells like crazy. If you open that door, it's going to smell high smell of cake, right? Inside the oven door. And the smell has diffused. It moved from high concentration in the oven door to low concentration upstairs. So that's diffusion. So what happens is, since your epithelial tissue has no blood supply, it's avascular, it relies on diffusion. So here's your basement membrane. Right down here, where this black thing is in blue, this would be where all the blood vessels are, right? Here's your basement membrane. Your epithelial tissue sits on top of that. And then right here would be like your salivary, or your saliva, if it was your salivary glands, or like your blood vessels, so the blood would flow through here, that type of thing. And so, actually, blood vessels has smooth muscle tissue in it, not epithelial tissue. What else instead? Your alveoli, your air sacs, or your epididymis, which transports semen. All of those things transport something, but they're avascular. And so how do they get nourishment to the epithelial tissue? It's through diffusion. So if you were ever in elementary school, your fingers are made up of epithelial tissue. This is one thing that I did. We didn't have cell phones and like TV on demand or anything like that. So what we did is we took a needle. Can you see this needle? And then we took our fingers and then we poked a hole. Ask your parents about this, see if they did it. I don't recommend doing this at home because I'm not supposed to teach you to do that, but look at, see how this is in here? Okay, there's no blood gushing through there, even though I just poked it through my skin. Can you see it? See it? The reason why there's no blood is because it's avascular. This is epithelial tissue and there's no blood. Plus it's like dead. The top layer you could scrape off if you ever, it's called, I forget what it's called when you, I totally have brain fart. But we like wash ourselves with exfoliate. It's called exfoliating because you take all the dead skin cells and you wash them off. But that's a type of epithelial tissue. If I went down really, really deep, that would mean like if you ever cut yourself with a paper cut and it bleeds, or you need stitches, you cut through your epithelial tissue, and then now you're able to you're cut through your epithelial tissue to the connective tissue. And then it regenerates easily. So by tomorrow, that finger, you can see that's ripped. It won't even matter. Or if, say, I eat a bunch of potato chips, they're sharp and I don't chew very good because I'm like, oh, I'm starving. I'm going to eat really fast and not chew my food. And then my esophagus is full of epithelial tissue. And I can scrape a whole bunch of that epithelial tissue like I did here. Scrape it off and my esophagus, I don't bleed to death. Super beneficial. And then by the next day or so, it regenerates really fast. So here's some of that epithelial tissue I was talking about. There's two names, just like you have a first and a last name. There's two names to epithelial tissue to classify them. First name, it's either simple, which means one layer thick, or stratified. Stratified means many layers thick. So you can see the picture there. Those are all simple. Simple is squamous. Squamous is flattened. Your book says like fish scales. I think it's flattened like Legos. or look down at your floor, like linoleum. It's one layer thick. Linoleum tile, it's all really flat. We have hardwood in my floor here. It's one layer thick, okay? So it's squamous. The cuboidal, what shape do you think it is? Cube shape. Very good. You're so smart. Columnar, what shape do you think that is? Column shape. See? Not rocket science. You got this. And so the first name is whether it's one layer, simple or stratified. Simple means one layer. These are really hard to get apart, so I'm just going to leave them together. Simple is one layer thick, like this, one layer thick. Stratified is 2 or more layers thick. Can you see that? This is 2 or more layers. I think it's 5. This would be one layer thick. One layer. This is stratified, many layers. Okay? So it's one layer or 2 or more. Okay, that's the first word. Second word is squamous is flat, like this, flat. Look at the floor. A cuboidal is cube shape, and columnar is column shape. No big deal, right? What's this other one down here that has pseudo? What is that? Pseudo means false. So pseudo stratified means false many layers. So think about it. If it's false many layers, do you think it has many layers? No, it doesn't. Pseudo means false. So it would be false many layers, so therefore it only has 1 layer. Notice here, I do this every time. Notice here on this picture here, you know what these are? These little brown, they look like eggs. They're not eggs. They're nucleuses, okay? And it's really easy because the nucleus is, your body must be organized, right? Remember, characteristics of life, organization. All the nuclei are all lined up. So it's super easy to see this is column shaped and they're all lined up. This is 1 layer. This is the basement membrane. These, nuclei all lined up. Nuclei all lined up. They're all organized, right? Well, in pseudo-stratified, if a quick glance, it looks, oh, the nucleuses aren't lined up. It must be many layers, right? Quick glance. However, pseudo means false, so it's false stratified. So it's actually columnar, like this one, because there's only 1 layer, but it's called pseudo-stratified because the nuclei aren't lined up. Kind of interesting. All right, so simple epithelial tissue, it helps with absorption because it's really thin. Secretion, again, because it's thin. Filtration, and those are the 3 main things that it helps with. And there's another picture there. All right, so any place that filtration or exchange of substances by rapid diffusion is going to occur would be simple squamous. Think about it like this. You think diffusion is going to happen a lot faster with this one or this one? Obviously this one, right? So any place in your body where diffusion needs to occur is going to be 1 layer thick. So where do you think that would be? Where do you need to diffuse things? Your lungs? Good guess. Yes. So your lungs are going to be made, your alveoli, your air sacs are going to be made of this. So when we dive deep into that chapter, we'll talk about this again. Because gas exchange can diffuse a lot faster through something thin than through something thick. So that is where simple squamous epithelial, squamous, I think it's squamous. I keep saying it wrong. I apologize. Simple squamous epithelial tissue would be fun. Simple squamous epithelial tissue. So this is a picture of alveoli right here. See it? See all that white stuff? Do you remember what that would be? That would be air sacs. So that would be where the gas is. Like, look how thin that is. That makes up your alveoli. It's that thin. And the gas, the oxygen, and the carbon dioxide are going to be hanging out inside that alveoli. So simple squamous epithelium, again, this is the basement membrane right here. Remember, basement membrane. Underneath here would be the blood. Up here would be holding the air. Boom. 1 layer thick on top of the basement membrane. So that's kind of cool. I think that's cool. And again, it allows for diffusion to occur really quickly. Simple cuboidal. It's cube shaped. Can you see it? So cool. This is 1 layer of cube-shaped cells. And this is the empty space in here. So this is a salivary gland, for example. What would happen is the saliva would be in here. That's what the lumen is called. And it would be bordered by that simple cuboidal shell. It also is found in the ovaries, kidney tubules, and like your pancreas and things like that. There's the basement membrane. And then simple columnar is elongated single layer of cells. They're elongated because they're column shaped. That would be in the digestive tract, and they have something called goblet cells. Goblet cells are flask shaped. So what they have is, have you ever been to the Renaissance Festival? And they have those big goblets. They're kind of like this, but they have a handle on the bottom, and then you drink out of them. I think they sell I don't know, juice or something. Back in the day, they used to drink wine out of them. Back when there's nights and stuff. But I always think of the goblet cells, like from the Renaissance Festival, because they're goblet shaped and you drink out of them. But instead of wine, in this situation, they hold mucus. It's basically the same thing. So just think of drinking a chug of mucus, goblet cells, and they help to move things along. Like in the digestive system, they move along your food so it doesn't get trapped in, so it doesn't get like stuck, or like your uterus, it moves along the egg, so it needs to go where it needs to go. So it adds like a transportation, helps things move. So here again, opens to lumen. Here would be the basement membrane. So this is avascular here. All right. Pseudo, remember pseudo means false. Pseudostratified columnar epithelial tissue. Cells appear layered, but they're not. They're one cell thick. They have cilia on the top. Do you guys remember what cilia is? So if you had column-shaped cells like this, they're column-shaped like this. Can you see them? They have cilia on the top. Cilia helps to move things along. So they also have scattered goblet cells. Remember goblet cells? Help it. They hold the mucus. That would be like in your reproductive tract. It can move sex cells from one to the other. It could be in your trachea. That's where I always think of it. And the cilia moves the dust particles up and out. So if you ever go and like hawk up a lung, your cilia could have trapped those, and the goblet cells could have trapped those dust particles and made you cough them out. It's like when you hawk a loogie, that could be because of your goblet cells and your pseudostratified columnar epithelial tissue. Super beneficial. So here's a picture. Isn't that cool? So here's your cilia. They're little hair-like projectiles that help to move things. Doesn't that look like many layers? But in actuality, it's just one. So right here would be the basement membrane, and then this would be the connective tissue. There's a goblet cell right there. How cool is that, huh? Cool. All right. So go back and review the simple. If you have any questions, it's squamous. Sorry about that. Stratified epithelial. Stratified means 2 or more layers. It's more durable because there's many layers. Look at this. Here's 2 layers. Here's many layers. The main function in stratified epithelial is to protect because there's many layers. So if you rip off one of the layers, it's fine because you have many more, like in your finger. It's fine in sites that have a lot of abuse and friction. Think about all the places in your body where there's lots of abuse or friction. So that would be like in your mouth. In your esophagus, like I talked about, your mouth, you eat all that food, you scrape off your cheek cells. We actually normally do a cheek cell lab where you get to scrape the inside of your cheek cell, put it on a slide and look at it. And you're not bleeding because it's avascular, and you're not dying because you ripped off your cells. You're totally fine. Because think about all the cells that die on a daily basis because of what you eat. So your esophagus, your mouth, your vagina, and your anal canal, all places that get lots of abuse and friction, need to be able to have lots of layers. So if you rip the first ones off for whatever reasons, it's okay. They don't get keratinized. The epidermis, the epidermis, I forgot that. So like your arm is made up of epidermis, and it gets keratin. It's hard, right? It's not soft. Whereas this cheek cell, if you stuck your finger inside your mouth and feel the inside of your cheek, that's moist. Your arm is not. Your arm gets keratinized, which means that it has accumulated protein, and it causes keratin, it hardens and dies. Which is why I could stick that thing through here and not get hurt, because it's all hardened. Right, so this is a picture. Remember, this is the lumen, and this would be your stratified squamous epithelial tissue. Look how many layers that is. So I stuck the pin through here. No big deal. Does that look like a heart? Okay, so these two are super, super rare. Stratified cuboidal, 2 layers of cuboidal shaped cells, and stratified columnar. Transitional epithelium, that is where transitional epithelium, that kind of goes like this. Watch my fingers, okay? So say they're in a ball, and then see how they overlapped, and now pretend this is my urinary bladder. They overlap like this. Look how much smaller that is. See that? And now they do this. Oh my gosh, it's so much bigger. Did my fingers get bigger? No, not really. Did they stretch? No, but they're allowed more urine to be held in there. So the organ isn't stretched. There's just lots and lots of cells that allow them to basically get bigger like this. The space between them gets smaller, and then they flatten. They slide past each other. Again, basement membrane right here. Lumen of the bladder. All right, that's it. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'm sorry I said that word wrong. Again, I got the pictures from Wikipedia. I'll talk to you later.